Many activities for Domestic Violence Month. We had actually Sister Mona was the inspiration for our first Friday for Families, which happened on October 1st, where we had masjids across the country for the first time recognize Domestic Violence Month. We did purple hijabs, and we had many activities across the country. So we are very grateful to her for that inspirational idea. We also will have in the chat the calendar of all the PFP events, and I will talk a little bit more about them at the end. So we were talking about children, and Sister Mona shared that this is her biggest job, and her biggest achievement is being the mom of 2 children. And we all know, who those of us who are professionals and working passionately, but also balancing that family life, that is absolutely true. So we are very glad that they have allowed us to borrow her this evening and to have this discussion. And we will have a presentation, but we do want discussion. We want this to be interactive around newcomers, how we work with newcomers within the context of domestic violence. So I will pass it over to one of our founding members of MANADV. And if you want to say a minute about MANADV as well, that would be amazing. Okay, Sister Mona, go right ahead. Are you able to speak?
Yes, I was trying to unmute. And I was actually going to say my regards to, I see Salma, Sister Salma here. I think we owe her so much thanks. And I think part of the TMWF formation, and I will not call myself founding member, but I was there when it was just a year old. So I saw it, but the founding members, the amazing people, I think there were 14, 15 founding members, but one of them, Dr. Hinjara, she continued, and she kind of transitioned out last year, but she has been the force behind TMWF, and she has worked so closely with Peaceful Family Project, specifically with Salma, and I'm so happy she's here, even though I can't see her, but I know she's here, and she and Hind has been working so closely to bring this organization to where it is today. So a brief history of what TMWF is and what we do, and how long and how far we have come, and with our journey. Thank you, Sister Salma, I appreciate it. So we are a 16-year-old organization in Dallas-Fort Worth area. It started off with, just like many organizations after 9/11, it was a passion project. It was a passion for Muslim women to inform other communities the strength of a Muslim woman and what can she do, and also address so many social issues within our own community. After 9/11, we were grieving because we knew that our faith has been hijacked, and whatever we saw around in the media was not a portrayal of a true Muslim woman. And that is the force behind TMWF. Those are some amazing trailblazers. There is no such organization within Texas, I can say confidently, that handles not only domestic violence, but we have changed, when we call, there is an organization and then there is a movement. I say TMWF and domestic violence within the Muslim community in Dallas-Fort Worth area, this is definitely a movement, because it has all the hallmarks of having a movement. Movement is when there is an idea, there is a problem that needs to be solved, and how do we construct, how do we build partnerships? TMWF is the only one, and I think that is with partnership with Peaceful Family Projects, that we went and started to have a conversation with imams that they needed to be on board when we talk about domestic violence. So our partnership with imams is so strong in Dallas-Fort Worth area, and that has led to so many imams talking about. Not only that, they are the first line of defense. When women do come to the masjids, they will refer them to TMWF. So TMWF has become a central point in Dallas-Fort Worth area. Few things that are very unique. One, as we learned, as we grew early on, we realized that we have to be culturally specific agency. We cannot just only be for Muslim only. We have to expand that, because domestic violence is beyond one's faith. We cannot just work on one faith. So we became culturally specific agency. And the bigger, the bigger issue that we dealt was how to become a trauma-informed agency. And I can give you one story of why and how does a trauma-informed work with us, or in this space, what does it mean to become a trauma-informed? Many cases, we can go on and, we can go on comparing ourselves to mainstream. So when a lady comes to a shelter, any mainstream shelter, they would be given a list of chores that, okay, when you have moved out of that situation, you need to build your life, build something that you can, be proud of. So let's start with basic schedules. Okay, please make sure you clean the kitchen. Please make sure you're sharing a space, cook and clean. Make sure you make your bed, make sure you do some basic chores, right? Any mainstream shelter will ask you to do these basic chores. And when we became trauma-informed, we learned that we cannot ask our clients to do so. The staff initially did not understand. We kept on implementing, but few stories that came out, and that really brought us to a point of why we are trauma-informed. Few ladies, and one in particular, I know she said that she used to cook before she got married, and she was known in her family, in her close family circle, that she was a very good cook and she used to cook good desserts. When she got married, she used to do the same for her husband, and 15 years of abuse. Her husband would not allow her to go to the kitchen because he said, you cook so bad that I will not eat anything, and he would eat out and not eat. And for 15 years, day in and day out, she was told that how bad a cook she is. And that became her trigger. So when she came to the shelter, she would not go near the kitchen. It became her trigger point. And the counselor had to sit with her over many sessions to make her realize that slowly she has to build herself. And that is exactly what trauma-informed is, that we never told her that every day she has to go to the kitchen and clean it. So those are very small things that we work with when we become a trauma-informed agency. So we have to train staff. We have to train ourselves and rethink. Are we re-traumatizing? Because when our clients, let's say Muslim clients, when they come to us, there are multiple traumas. Let's say maybe they were refugees. Let's say they went through domestic violence. They were in their own country and they were suffering due to political or whatever reason. So multiple traumas. We cannot go with what mainstream agencies are telling us and we replicate that. We really have to create our own way of doing things and how to take care of that vision. So moving forward, like I said, TMWF is a 16-year-old organization. At this point, we have grown to a point where, we have 15 languages within our organization. And I tell this story to everyone that one of the staff members, I ask, how many languages do you speak? And she shies away and she says, only 7. And I am like, okay, this is the height of, it's amazing how she can translate into 7 languages. So that's one thing which is unique also, that, when we are healing, we're talking to people from the cultural context, speaking in their own language, getting counseling in their own language really helps and build trust. And with time, we also realize that domestic violence cannot be handled on its own. We have to have men involved. We have to have young children involved. We have to do prevention work. So that's another thing which is unique, and that goes towards, TMW being a movement rather than an organization, that we tackle so many things on prevention level. So we have youth program and youth leadership, and giving them spaces and conversations at what the safe conversation looks like, what is a respect element, or prevention of domestic violence, prevention of all these violences. So we have youth program. Then we have refugee program, because there is so much trauma in refugees, and yes, there is domestic violence. It exists, and it does not surface because they are constantly in survival mode. So the need for counseling and a need for getting those services becomes a low priority for them. So we have a mobile advocacy for refugees. So our staff actually goes to them. We don't ask them to come to our office. We actually go there and do, teach them language and do the case management and all. We have, and I think in 2012, that's when we started our partnership with imams, and Sister Salma was in our city with Imam Majid, and they had gone and they had conducted a workshop for imams, and that's one of the key workshops. After that, our partnership with our masajids began. So I again thank Peaceful Family Projects.
And I'm going to interrupt just a second. So bring your attention to a question we have from the audience. It's precisely about that, which is how exactly, and we thank you, Deborah, for your question, how exactly do imams demonstrate their partnership? What are they doing? What are the activities that they are engaging in to sort of not earn that partnership, but to sort of demonstrate their partnership?
Absolutely. So I think we made it pretty simple for them. We have very specific asks of those imams. Number one is zero tolerance in their own masajids. If there is a woman or a family who comes in and says that they are going through husband or wife, or there is a violence going on in the family, they will do something about it. So zero tolerance. Number two is make them understand that they are the mandatory reporters. So CPS, they don't have a choice. That's another very solid step. Number three, we ask them to dedicate some Fridays or some khutbahs on domestic violence. We don't call it domestic violence, we call it peaceful families. How do we talk about prevention? So very specific steps that we ask. And the biggest of all, we say that, please talk to your own shura and advocate on our behalf. So we can come in if we want to do fundraising, if we want to talk about having more workshops with women, they allow us. So very specific, small, simplified steps. And that's how they have demonstrated. We have direct, and also they know our direct hotline. And they will continuously forward clients who come to them, they will forward it to us at TMWF. So these are very specific, simple, small steps.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I think what we wanted to talk about tonight specifically was when we're talking about newcomer populations, populations maybe that have been here for a while, but that are new to our organization. We know that there are sort of small isolated cultural groups. And then when we have influxes of individuals coming from specific areas because of refugee resettlement or other kinds of, large group migrations, for lack of a better word, how do we become, or how do we sort of accommodate their needs in terms of that culturally specific way?
I think there are many ways to go about doing this. The first and the most successful that we have seen is the need coming from the community. and person who has to either run the program or run the project or work with them has to come from them. And I have seen that success on so many levels. If you bring in somebody, a third person to help them, the trust building doesn't happen. With the most vulnerable population, the trust building is the first thing. And when they see somebody who has gone through that same cycle, the trust building happens immediately. I have seen a few programs where, with specifically Afghani refugees coming in, some of the refugees who were here, who've been here for past 5 or 6 years, when they go there to teach them, there is an immediate trust building. There is an immediate relationship that happens, and that is a supportive. They can get so much done and so much help so fast when we pick somebody from them whom they can relate to, or they speak the same language. So connectivity and building that relationship is very key.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I also think that you talked about the linguistic capacity of your agency and that being an important piece as well. So how do you get all of those folks who are speaking all of those languages?
I think, I tell you, when it is a movement, people join because this is beyond us. This is so bigger than each of us put together, because we are solving people's issues and we are saving lives. And who would not want to be part of that? So we get people, amazing partnerships and amazing people. Just, it happens. Believe me, it happens.
Is there special things that you do in terms of gaining information about the new cultural groups that you encounter? We talked about there's been an influx of Syrian refugees, for example. We know that there is an increase right now in our Afghan community. How are the ways that you kind of find out the special pieces or the unique pieces of each group?
I think since the beginning, we have not lost the focus of being a grassroots organization. So, which means we have so many smaller committees. We have so many smaller groups that we are part of. That's a signature grassroots level organization. So, it's like oversimplifying it. We have ear to the ground, and we are constantly know what is the need of the community. And one thing as an organization, I always encourage that we have to be in a place of listening to the community. We can come up with solution because we are women. We want to solve world's problem, but then there are times when you need to listen to people and see what the actual problem is, right? So I think any organization or leadership or anyone in any organization, if we take the role of being a bigger listener, then we hear people talk and we hear the problems. And that's when, we may not be, and I always tell that the leadership or TMW, one person, two people, will not have the answer. The answer lies with the survivors. The answer lies with these people. We are just there to facilitate, just to give them resources. And that's the position we are in.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question as the sort of moderator, and then we will open it up to community questions as well. And I'm asking this because I am always impressed by the wide range of services that is covered under your organization, and I'm not sure that everybody knows about all of the things that you do. So if you could give us an overview of what you offer and the different sort of environments you offer those services in.
Yes, absolutely. So we have 2 shelters at the moment, and between the 2 shelters, we can accommodate up to 35 women and children who are survivors of family violence. Boys, we take up to 10 years of age. Girls, of course, we can take. So women do come with their children. In addition to that, we have almost 29 apartments between rapid rehousing and transitional housing. So after they're done with the shelter, they have that added benefit of going into transitional housing as well. And so these are our housing options. Now, in addition to that, of course, we have wraparound services. So we have counselors, we have play therapy. We also have an immigration and family attorneys. We have 8 or 9 social workers. So that's the holistic approach. That is a wraparound services. Now, between all of them, we have ESL, we have parenting, we have financial literacy. One thing that I would want to talk more about is financial literacy of these clients. It is so important. And parenting. These are 2 major skills that lack, and they don't even know that they lack those skills till you make them realize that banking is important. Half of them do not believe in bank. So financial literacy, and of course ESL, and of course parenting, those are some basic key programs that we have within social services. And, as and when the need arises, we come up with smaller projects to support them. We had a saving program. We also had, a program where they would get some kind of either, some seed money for different projects. So we keep inventing, and as and when we get good people to help us, we move that forward, move that along to the clients. So that's our wraparound services at this point.
Beautiful. I misspoke because I do have one more question. In terms of obstacles, what obstacles have you come across in terms of working with newcomer populations when you come across a new group? What are some of the obstacles that you've seen in terms of building liaisons with them or being able to offer services in a positive way?
I think the biggest challenge is making them understand the baseline mistrust of the other is so big that it takes so much time to build that. So building trust is one, and so afraid of the law enforcement. And then looking at us and thinking, are we partners with law enforcement? Are we on their side or law enforcement side? So trust building is one of the major issues. One thing that I do want to bring in is our services. Number one, our services are open to everyone, Muslims, non-Muslims. Number two, our services are open nationwide now because there are so many cities where they don't find a quote unquote Muslim shelter. So we've had clients from California, New York, Utah. They would take a bus and come to our shelter. So our shelters are open nationwide. Geographically, we are not binding ourselves to Texas only. And in some of the cases, we've had clients coming in internationally. So just know that we call ourselves Texas and Muslim and women, but we serve nationwide, we serve non-Muslims, and we serve men also. So we're pretty much open.
That's amazing. And I never say this, but it almost makes me want to move back to Texas. Well, that's a very scary confession. That's how amazing your services are. And do you want to open it up for the audience if you have any questions for our esteemed speaker before she has to skedaddle off, because I know that she does have another meeting in a little bit. And then I will talk more specifically about some of the DVAM events that are coming up for PFP and a teeny bit about MANADV itself and how to join that really very critical group within the Muslim advocate community. So are there questions? You can unmute yourselves as long as you guys go one by one. I'm trying to, because there's a lot of folks on the call, so I want to manage that as well as possible.
Hi. Yeah. So my name is Shama, and thank you so much, Dr. Denise, and also Dr. Mona, for sharing with us. I think this has been really, really helpful for me. I'm actually dialing in all the way from Hong Kong. So
You
yeah, it's
win
8
the
a.m. here.
prize.
Yeah.
100% you win the prize
Yeah.
for the
No,
for
but I
this.
mean, thank you so much for organizing it. I'm glad that the link somehow got through to our organization. We're from Hong Kong Unison, and we're a very tiny grassroots organization here that works with mainly ethnic minorities, so a lot of immigrant families here. And so domestic violence cases are something that we deal with, and our clients, majority of them. So in Hong Kong, the situation's like this. A lot of the immigrants here, the largest population would be South Asians and then Southeast Asians. So in that context over there, a lot of them would also come from specific countries, and a lot of them do end up being Muslim. So in that way, there's a lot of dealing with these issues. And sometimes when we're speaking to the men and whatnot, and they might be a lot harder to get through. So I wanted to like kind of ask, how do you guys, you know, get speaking with the men? Like, how do you deal with that? Of course, the women at your shelters, that's one thing, building them up. But then later on, when it comes to, I guess, maybe if reconciliation is possible or something like that, just like a rehabilitation kind of thing, is that work, or is there some kind of protocol? Yeah.
I can tell you a few things. First of all, Hong Kong, I just visited in 2019. Beautiful, beautiful place to be with. So, and I tell you, we all have been in a place where we started this movement. So, you know, I think that's one thing that MANADV, I'm always bad in pronouncing, okay, is here to support all the grassroots organization, because we are all going towards the same direction. Just some organizations are ahead because they started early, and some are starting now, but we are here not to reinvent the wheel. So and to answer what you're saying is, number one, yes, definitely, we cannot do this work without men. It is a partnership of men, because this is men's issue also. Domestic violence is not women's issue. And I think more than me, Dr. Denise is an expert on how this is men's issue also. But as a service provider, what we did was we started to, you know, you have to be politically correct.
Yes.
And you have to come from an angle of, this is a family issue, and we are partnering with you to help us. When we seeked out men, and we started off with finding some allies, and you will find allies, simple ones, okay? I can tell you, I don't have to look any further. My brother, my husband is an ally, because he's letting me come on such, you know, events, or letting me do what I do. So, and friends' husbands, we created smaller groups of those men allies. Then they spread the word to more and more and more. It's a ripple effect, but you start with that inner circle of your support system, and you give them, you know, be the advisor. We are advisors. Tell us what we need to do. So you give them equal partnership. You give them that piece of, you know, solving a bigger solution. And believe me, you will always find good men. There's no dearth of good men. You will always find them, identify them, and giving them sometimes titles do work. So think along those lines also.
Okay. Yeah, no, that is fantastic. Thank you.
I will just follow up briefly around some of the things that PFP is doing. And then also, because I am a clinical psychologist and I am certified, I do run or have run in the past batterers groups. So one is that, of course, male allies are so important in what we do in terms of, first of all, I think the imam training is very important, because that's them listening man to, you know, religious leader male. And that really does make a difference and is a very powerful way to intervene. So I think if you can, some of those allies be religious leaders, that is very helpful. I think looking at it as a social change issue and not a personal issue, meaning we need to look at domestic violence as an issue within our community, not you need to manage your anger better or you need something else, that we really look at what is the role of males in Muslim society, which is as protectors, which is as leaders, and that we are also given very specific information that how leadership should happen in Muslim communities, which has to do with mutual consultation and no oppression and respect for human rights, no matter who they may be. So those things are very important. When we talk about very specific cases, which is working with specific families where domestic violence has happened, there's also some guidelines around how you do therapy. So one is that you really do not do therapy together and do family therapy right away, because violence is not something that is going to get fixed in a marriage, in a marital therapy session. And in fact, marital therapy may make it worse, right? Because people are going to talk about what bothers them. And if a male has not yet learned or yet not understood that violence is not part of what that response should be, you're going to get more, unfortunately, you're going to get more violence. Specific batterers programs, one of the things that is in my ear these days, because we have had a lot of very specific requests, is that really we need to start working on a national protocol for batterers groups from a Muslim perspective. And I think here in the United States, we know that when people get charged, they get sent to batterer intervention programs. Those programs are very, very non-culturally specific. And it's really easy for immigrant males, males from specific cultures, or perpetrators from specific cultures, perpetrators who are linguistically specific, to really not pay attention. They have to pay the fine, the fees. They will pay them and go like, this is not about me. This is about American men. This is about American families. This is about, Christian families, and really not take it to heart. So I do think that one of the things that we're going to be looking at, inshallah, moving forward, is how we get really good batterer programs that are Muslim in base, and then how do we get trainers, as Sister Mona was saying, how do we get trainers that are culturally and linguistically specific so that we have the highest impact?
All right, thank you so much for that. It was really, really insightful. And I'm just like, I have pages full of notes, so thank you.
The other thing, I will invite you, and I'll talk a little bit about MANADV in more toward the end, but there is in the chat a registration link for MANADV. MANADV is the Muslim Advocates Network Against Domestic Violence. It is a group that has over 40 service providers represented across the country. You are absolutely welcome as an international provider as well to join that group. And in that group, you will get information about trainings. You will get, the ability to talk to other service providers. You will get consultation and technical assistance and all of those kinds of things. So I would suggest that you push on that link and join MANADV itself to be able to sort of keep in the loop of Muslim related service provision. Okay, do we have other comments, questions? I thought I saw Dr. Bumi on here, and I was hoping she would say a word about the survey, the national survey that has been started, that is looking at the Muslim experience of intimate partner violence here in the United States. Are you able to do that, Dr. Bumi? If not, I will jump in and say there is a national survey going on, which is a follow-up, 10-year follow-up from the first that was done in 2011 through Peaceful Partners, Peaceful Families Project. I'm losing my Peaceful Partners is one of our projects. And that really is to help us have good data on what is the Muslim experience of domestic violence here in the United States. It is a new and improved, very much wider base of questions being asked, and that is open for anyone over the age of 18 who is Muslim and living in the United States. I will add in also the link for that. We really are trying to get a wide range of experiences. Again, you don't fill that out if you have the experience of domestic violence. It is about the whole community and knowing sort of what is the prevalence in our community, what services are people aware of. It looks at wide ranges of diversity. It is right now in English, and inshallah will be translated so that we can open access to that to some of our culturally specific communities as well. Okay, other questions, concerns? So first of all, of course, I have to say thank you. Is an inspiration to us all. Like I said, anything that could make me even imagine moving to Texas is powerful. The range of services that you offer really is the dream that we have for survivors, right? That full range of everything in your language, in your culture, and with that trauma-informed aspect. So you are absolutely one of our role models in terms of direct services. So thank you so much. I know you do need to run to another meeting, so I will, at any moment, feel free to do that. I also want to welcome folks to, I know that you have some events coming up for DVAM, and we will have those on the MANADV page. So MANADV is a sponsored program. They are an amazing group, and they sit under the umbrella of Peaceful Families Project, and they have a designated page on the Peaceful Families website. They have a MANADV page. So all of the events of all of our sister organizations for DVAM will be on there. There is a specific calendar for Domestic Violence Awareness Month events for all of the members. So feel free to go on that page, register if you are not part of that. If you are not part of that group, and then feel free, you can go on and look at other kinds of events. I do want to highlight some of the PFP events because, of course, PFP is my home organization. So on October the 13th, there are actually two events. One is the Interfaith Coalition on Domestic Violence, which is a national faith-based group across the United States. They are doing an event looking at COVID and domestic violence, the effects and impact of COVID, new innovations that have come, and then looking at a national response, also because we are being called to look at the National Intimate Partner Violence Statement and Plan that is being proposed by the Biden administration. So that event is at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I would invite all of you to be there. Also at 8 o'clock on that same evening, I'm glad that Sister Mona talked about financial security, because we are doing a virtual workshop where everyone is invited, looking at women's financial literacy through two outside trainers that work specifically in that area. So we know that financial security, financial risk is one of the things that keeps women in violent situations. And it is also something that can help all women in terms of gaining independence and having options in terms of their own ability to maintain power and control economically over their own lives. So that event is going to be 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the PFP calendar. The 17th, we are so excited to do the reveal of our new youth curriculum. And that is a youth curriculum that is looking at family structure, healthy relationships, risk factors, red flags for upcoming relationships, cyber citizenship, diversity and tolerance. For 3 specific groups. We have middle school curriculum, we have a high school curriculum, and then we have a college age curriculum. So this is our reveal party. It is not a girl, it is not a boy, it is a peaceful future for all Muslim youth. And we are doing a sample of activities. And so that is an event that is for youth and adults. That is Sunday, the 17th at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So we would ask if you have youth groups that are interested in participating, that they do that. And that is something that we will be working on and offering a training of trainers in that particular part of our programming sometime in the winter months. It will either be, we're trying to get it to match up to a school vacation, because a lot of our folks are educators who will be part of that. So it will either be at the beginning of January or possibly February, where there's a long weekend for schools. So that is for the 17th. On the 22nd, many of folks in this group are aware, we will have the first national symposium on research related to domestic violence and Muslim communities. That includes 2 independent one PFP research, independent researchers, and student research as well. We are very excited. Again, we cannot get good intervention, we cannot get good prevention if we don't have information, if we don't have good data. So we are absolutely dedicated to making sure that we are able to support Muslim voices in research and Muslim researchers. And this is our first chance to do this. This, inshallah, will be an annual event. And then on November 1st, PFP will be introducing its new roadmap to peace, which looks at all of our new programming. We had a strategic planning session a few months ago, and this is our chance to sort of reveal and open up our roadmap to peace, all of the new programs that we're looking at, including in the next 3 years. So that will not be an event exactly, it will be an opening, and then we will do an event sometime after that. So know that anybody and everyone is invited to those events. They, as I said, they are on the chat. Please spread them widely. Domestic Violence Awareness Month is not a celebration of domestic violence, but it really is our chance to sow seeds of awareness, of starting this conversation, of allowing the recognition that this is a Muslim issue as much as it is in any other faith, so that it really allows us a foot in the door to talk about things that really are not comfortable to talk about, that people don't want to talk about, but that are so necessary for our community. I want to make sure that there is no other questions that are floating around. So I will be quiet.
Can I interject with this comment?
Absolutely.
And I would encourage each one of you, if you have a chance, do visit Peaceful Family Project website, because many times, countless times, I have gone there and took so much literature and learned from the research, actually plugged in many grants, because PCP has the only data on Muslims. It is so necessary. So absolutely reach out to their website. Amazing content. So, and And she did not pay me to say that.
This is not a paid endorsement. Thank you so much. I did not also mention some of the other things that are on the PFP website, which include our resources for religious leaders. It also includes the Domestic Violence Survivors Toolkit. It also includes the Domestic Violence 101 or T-Talks. What did we say? Café con la comunidad, because Latinos don't drink tea, in several languages, including Urdu, Arabic, and Spanish. So please offer those up to the folks in your communities who may need them. So thank you all so very, very much. This has been an amazing opportunity to hear from one of our role models. So we are eternally grateful, not only for her words tonight, but for her presence in the community and for all of her passion and hard work, and her giving us aspirational goals for all of our communities and for all of our work, for Sister Mona. So we're very, 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 very grateful. And we're grateful to each and every one of you who participated. Know that you are absolutely invited. There are monthly gatherings, monthly conversations with the MANADV group. If you register, you will get those invitations. If you are interested and not registered, just shoot me out an email and we can get you a link. So salam alaikum. Thank you to everyone. And we will see you at the next event.